is answering some questions from reporters.
Joe Biden to make that statement, it's really a disgrace.
Instead of the military to be used, the military or the National Guard to be used on election day if necessary. Can you explain what you meant by that?
I don't think they'll have to be used. I think we're going to have a big victory. And I think 250 million people in this country are going to be very happy because we're going to bring the country back. We're a nation in decline, very, very serious decline. And we're going to bring our country back.
Did you know that Elon Musk was in close contact with President Bush? Did you know about Elon Musk at all and closely engaged?
No, I don't know. Elon is a great guy. He's one of our geniuses, and we have to protect our geniuses. We have to take care of our geniuses. There aren't too many of them. Yes.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Phares, 23-year-old conservative law student here at Liberty University, host of Speechless. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, no matter where you guys are tuning in from. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're on Instagram. I'm trying out something new. I am streaming live on Instagram right now. Make sure that you guys follow the account, and then also go check me out on YouTube, Speechless with Phares. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that fun stuff. And we got a lot to talk about here today. To start off, if you're a fan of this show, if you're a fan of the things that I say, if you're interested in things I talk about, and you're a follower in good graces, then I have some news for you. You're garbage. You're garbage. That's what Joe Biden seems to think, at least. And that's the clip that we're going to get pulled up here soon. I do produce my own show, everybody, so I'm getting that pulled up. But I don't know why anybody's surprised. And you've probably heard of this video. If you haven't actually seen it yet, you've probably heard Joe Biden earlier this week. Joe Biden faced significant backlash after calling out tens of millions of people who voted for Donald Trump, and he called them garbage, a remark that the administration has frantically tried to clean up amid the fallout. I have that clip, everybody. Don't worry. We got that right here. Take a look and listen to Joe Biden calling everybody garbage.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Oh,
His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
it's his supporters. It's his supporters. One more time for everybody out there.
Good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
So if you plan on supporting Donald Trump, you are probably garbage. That's what he says. And now a lot of people have been going absolutely crazy. A lot of people on the right have been out here saying, oh my gosh, he just called half the country garbage. And you'd think with his vice president currently running for president that she might come out and say something that has to do with like, oh my gosh, this is wrong. And she does a little. We can get that clip here. Don't worry, everybody. She does a little when she's outside of a plane. Take a look and listen right here to what she actually says. Pull it up in full screen. Here we go.
Biden took his comment last night about garbage.
Listen, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments.
He clarified them. Really? We'll investigate that.
But let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
I vehemently disagree with, I might have added the vehemently in there, but she disagrees with criticism of anybody who they vote for. Now, I'd like to say that's a good answer. And at face value, it is. If not coming from the person that is constantly called her opponent a fascist and a Nazi. Now, here's the thing, is you have an entire group, an entire elected populace that will constantly say they're the party of tolerance. They're the party that you should follow. They're the party that's going to be about love, acceptance, and joy. But it makes it really hard to believe when not only do they constantly berate the media sphere, with this idea that their opponents are garbage, Nazis, fascists, the worst of the worst. And then within the same 10 seconds, call for unity. Makes it seem a little disingenuous. And I think the people are starting to see that. They're starting to get fed up. But don't worry, everybody. Everybody on the left is trying to do damage control for the president on this one. We have obviously, we obviously have that right there of Kamala coming out and saying he clarified. That's the first thing. He clarified his statements, but then the media will shill for Kamala and say, oh my gosh, he will shill for Biden and say, oh my gosh, it's okay. He clarified. He didn't actually mean that. In fact, they've gone so far as to basically just flat out deny it in general. Take a look and a listen at this clip of Karine Jean-Pierre at a White House press conference today, basically saying, gaslighting the entire nation. It never happened, everybody. It never actually happened. Take a look at this.
Less of Americans who support Trump than he does of those who do not. And two, why is he using that kind of rhetoric? How is that presidential?
So a couple of things. So just to clarify, he was not calling Trump supporters garbage, which is why he put out. This is why he wanted to make sure that
he wasn't calling Trump supporters garbage. No. That specific clip of him saying those that I only see are garbage are his supporters. That's not him calling them garbage. No, couldn't be, can't be.
That we put out a statement that clarified what he meant and what he was trying to say. And so just want to make that very clear for folks who are watching. And I just want to read that out to folks. So he was regarding to the comedian, and I quote, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at the rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. And to your question, your other question that you asked, no, he does not view Trump supporters or anybody who supports Trump as garbage.
Oh, okay. What a Freudian slip that would be. After, as I mentioned, the constant beratement with demonization towards the political right. This is absolutely hilarious coming from the White House of them trying to push this out here. I mean, take a look. This is just last week, or even just a few days ago, October 23rd. What day is it? October 30th, 7 days ago. This is Kamala with Anderson Cooper. Take a look and listen.
Calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Now, a lot of people on the right are coming out and they're so surprised. They're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Well, how could you just come out and call half the population I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. How could you come out and just call half the population garbage? Well, example A, just 7 days ago, she calls Donald Trump a fascist. We constantly get berated with ideas of that Trump is literally Hitler. I mean, I could just search on Twitter. I didn't even have this clip pulled up. I could just search on Twitter, Hitler, and I'm willing to bet we have, this is actually kind of funny. Clinton's attended Hitler's wedding in 2005. That's funny. But I'm sure we could find Tim Walz saying, let's just find Hitler, Tim Walz. Willing to bet there's a clip of Tim Walz calling Trump Hitler or alluding to that. Yeah, this is October 27th, 3 days ago. Here's this one.
Donald Trump has descended into madness over the last few weeks. And I think some of you don't miss on this. Go do your Google on this. Donald Trump.
Go do your Google. I just want to point out how out of touch Tim Walz is with that too.
He's got this big rally going at Madison Square Garden. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden. And don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
Now, I'll give him credit where credit's due. He doesn't explicitly say Trump is Hitler or Trump's a Nazi. But listen one more time.
There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid 1930s at Madison Square.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's what he said. Maybe it's not what maybe he wasn't talking about Hitler. Maybe he wasn't talking about the Nazis, anything like that. No. Maybe he's not. Oh, wait. But like, let's look at MSDNC literally 3 days ago.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
People that were in attendance and spoke included people of Jewish faith, people of all different races, Black, Mexican, more. Oh, no. And not to mention the fact that many political figures, including Clintons, Bushes, and more, have had rallies at Madison Square Garden since the 1930s. And I think, don't quote me on this one because I'll admit I'm not 100% positive, but from what I understand, back in the 1930s, it was not it might have been an arena of a similar area in New York called Madison Square Garden. It was not the same Madison Square Garden in the 1930s that it is here. But that's not what the mainstream media wants to tell you, because to them, Trump is literally Hitler. He's a fascist. And here's the thing that I want to ask you, that I beg of you, is if Trump is literally Hitler, who would his supporters be? Well, they've told you so many times, and it's not just garbage. We can go back to the 2016 election when Hillary Clinton was caught on a hot mic. And everybody usually knows this clip, and they know the point I'm about to make. But I want to make sure we watch the full clip. Now, here's the part that I think you've probably seen before.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
Okay, so that's what you've probably heard. Half of Trump supporters, basket of deplorables. Now, good for her. At least she only talked about a quarter of the country rather than Joe Biden calling half of the country garbage. But listen to the rest of the clip. And this is what I think is so important, is everybody wants to talk about deplorables.
The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic. There are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
Not only is this clip about saying, oh my gosh, all Trump supporters, not all, she says half of Trump supporters are deplorables. No, she also says in there the litany of other things. What is it?
The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
And she goes through all of those. And I think it's so important to recognize that, because this is how they have seen people on the right for a long time. I mean, this goes back even to what I would consider a lesser insult of Obama during his tenure, saying that like Republicans were clutching onto their Bibles and their guns. And so you ask yourself, is the outrage against Biden for saying what we already knew warranted. Now, I would say the outrage itself is, but surprise is not. Biden said what Democrats think. Biden said what Democrats think. And the problem with this is not in and of itself that they think we're garbage or anything like that. That's not what's new here. What's problematic about this is much more that they then, in the next sentence, call for unity and claim that they're going to be unifying. I mean, heck, we could even go, I believe it was just earlier today, Tim Walz was on some channel where they actually asked him about this. Oh, it was CBS this morning. CBS this morning asked Tim Walz, hey, you know, you guys have been pushing like this unity message. You know, you guys have been really, really stressing hard this whole idea that that we need to come together as a country. We need to stop with the name calling. Watch this.
I want to put it into a larger context of your recent comment comparing the Sunday Trump rally to a Nazi rally. And I would also throw in there Obama's bitter clingers, guns and religion comment from a while back, the deplorable line from Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the way that Democrats are seen by some voters as disrespecting them. And I have to ask, does that undercut this closing message of unity from your campaign?
No, certainly not.
I want to put it into a larger context of your recent comment comparing.
No, of course not. No, of course not. And you can even look at this. This is from 2 days ago, Tim Walz.
I think the core principle, adhering to the Constitution, the rule of law, getting away from the name calling and the division.
Getting away from the name calling and the division. And then we get Joe Biden.
I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
It's unconscionable and un-American. It's unconscionable and un-American. Well, then we can literally go. I played this clip last week. Literally last week on my show. Obama asking this.
I don't understand how we got so toxic and just so divided and so bitter. And I get why sometimes people just don't want to pay attention to it.
I get, yeah. Well, let's get back one more time. I don't know. I don't understand how we got here. Well,
they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters.
How'd we get here? Come on, Obama. How'd we get here? I mean, I think there was even when I was looking at this Obama clip right above it, there was another example. Yeah, take a look at this one right here.
We got so toxic.
It is loyal to the United. Donald Trump said that because he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States.
But how do we get here, right? Obama, one more time.
I don't understand how we got so toxic and just...
I don't understand. And like I said last week, they absolutely understand. You know, I've talked ad nauseum about the idea of pandering and how we see it during this election cycle. I mean, even Trump panders. Like, I'm not excusing the pandering from the right either in many ways. I think that in some ways, RFK Jr. joining up is a sense of pandering. I think that Tulsi Gabbard joining up is a sense of pandering. But the difference is that Trump calls for unity and he sticks to his guns on many issues and then actually does bring some people together while also conceding certain points, which I don't agree with all of them, but he's doing that. You have the left. You've had Biden. Biden said he was going to be the unifying president in his inauguration. I know for a fact. I'm going to find it. Inauguration unity. know I can find this. It's yeah, at least this is him quoting himself in a Facebook video right here. Or it's at least it's a part of, this is when he was yeah, take a look at this. If I can get it to play audio. This is him when he was, I believe, bowing out of the race.
How tough our politics gets. We need to see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Treat each other with dignity and respect. To join forces as Americans to stop shouting, lower the temperature, and work together to pursue progress, secure prosperity, and keep the promise of America for everybody. No matter how tough our politics gets, we need to see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans.
Yeah, see each other as fellow Americans, not as adversaries, Like, you wouldn't want to call your other Americans garbage, right, Joe?
Decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters.
This is what we have, everybody. This is what we have. We have an entire, and I think, and once again, I think a lot of people are starting to catch on. People are starting to see that, hey, maybe I like some Democrat policies, but the people are hypocrites and they don't really stand for anything. What they're doing is they're throwing, especially this campaign cycle. I do think that there are Democrats out there that stand for something. I think there are Democrats that see that the writing is on the wall. And I think a perfect example of that is John Fetterman. And now, I have been radically critical of John Fetterman in the past. But if you notice recently, he's being pretty forthright in his opinions. And the thing is John Fetterman is the current senator of Pennsylvania, one of the biggest swing states that we got going on in the 2024 election. I believe there's 20 electoral votes on the line. And we can even see right here out of Fox News, Fetterman calls support in Pennsylvania astonishing. You can see the intensity for Trump. Pennsylvania Democrat Senator John Fetterman opened up about the state of the presidential race in the key battleground state and called former President Trump's support there astonishing, while predicting that Elon Musk's endorsement is going to really matter. Why? Because Elon Musk talks about things like industry, things that matter, and jobs, things that matter to that specific demographic there in Pennsylvania. Fetterman continued, I was doing an event in Indiana County, very, very red, and there was a superstore of Trump stuff. And it was 100 feet long. There were dozens of t-shirts and hats and bumper stickers and all kinds. I mean, it's like, where does all of this come from? It's the kind of thing that has taken on its own life, and it's like something very special exists there. And that doesn't mean I admire it. It's just, it's real. And so I have to give a lot of credit to John Fetterman here. This is a Democrat that I believe actually has, and it's because he's coming out, he's saying, I don't support it. I'm not a Trump fan, but he's coming out and he's being honest and he's saying, hey, there is a lot of energy for Trump in Pennsylvania. And the guy's doing something right. He doesn't come out and he doesn't say Trump is literally Hitler. He doesn't come out and say Trump supporters are garbage. Why? Because he recognizes that that's his constituency. That's his constituency. And so I think there is, like, the way Trump has handled his campaign has been like let's make an analogy here. I'm sorry that I'm formulating my thoughts. I am not scripted by any means. I try to prepare some things so that you guys can feel like I'm going off of something important, or like I'm organized. But the fact of the matter is I organize a lot of my thoughts while I'm pulling things up, because I think through things right here. And so through that little bit of stalling, what I've been able to do is formulate the idea that Donald Trump has been wielding his campaign like a butterfly knife. And at the same time, when he wields it like a butterfly knife, he reacts with said knife with precision, grace, and excellence. While Kamala, her entire campaign, has been throwing star, and missing constantly. to try to appeal to the average voter. She says, I worked at McDonald's, which anybody with half a brain cell finds it hard to believe. And then when asked to present evidence, there's an AI generated image that goes around, or not even AI photoshopped image that goes around. It is simply not true. And then you have Donald Trump, who then goes and works at McDonald's and says, I've worked at McDonald's 15 more minutes than Kamala ever has. Hilarious, perfect, graceful. Pokes fun without necessarily pushing down too much, being too harsh, which is what a lot of his criticism has been. Then Joe pretty much calls Trump supporters garbage. And then here's what Trump does. It's beautiful. He comes out in a garbage truck. It's Trump decked out. It's beautiful. And then he says things like this. It's a beautiful.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden. How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
It's beautiful.
How do you?
It's beautiful. It's such a tactful way of politics to come out. And this is not just because I like Trump. Like I'll be honest with you. I like Trump. I like the guy. If all of his supporters are garbage, just call me the trash man. Like I'm the trash man. But no, this is beautiful because what it does is it's wordplay with action. That's essentially what it is. That's essentially what it is. And then he comes out and he does not call Kamala supporters garbage. He essentially says, I'm going to take the trash out of the White House. And he says it even further in the larger interview. He's the truck, so you guys can see it a little bit more. And then he even comes out and in the interview, he kind of says a little bit more to that effect. Here's this.
Is answering some questions from
Joe
reporters.
Biden to make that statement, it's really a disgrace.
You said the other day that the military could be used, that the military or the National Guard could be used on election day if necessary. Can you explain what you meant by that in detail?
I don't think they'll have to be used. I think we're going to have a big victory. And I think 250 million people in this country are going to be very happy because we're going to bring the country back. We're a nation in decline, very, very serious decline. And we're going to bring our country back.
Did you know that Elon Musk was in close contact with President Bush? Did you know about this? Did you know about Elon Musk calls and close communication?
No, I don't know. Elon is a great guy. He's one of our geniuses, and we have to protect our geniuses. We have to take care of our geniuses. There aren't too many of them. Yes, please.
Puerto Rico, an apology for what the comedian said.
No, I love Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico loves me. I don't know anything about a comedian. I love Puerto Rico. Nobody's done more for Puerto Rico than me. I took care of them when they had the big hurricanes, and nobody gets along better with Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rican people than me. They love me and I love them.
See, and so he gets a great opportunity. He gets press, he gets FaceTime. And then I think he was even maybe while this has been going on, he's been giving a speech. Let's take a look here. This is his entrance.
In every American heart, and it's time we stand and say.
I'm probably going to get a copyright violation on that, so I'm going to take the music off. I know you guys probably really like that song, but I don't want to get a copyright strike from wherever I am. I could get taken off YouTube and stuff. This is him coming out dressed in like his garbage man uniform. Maybe a little bit of overkill, maybe a little bit of pandering from that, but I don't know. It's cute. It's cute. And I'll admit that might be my bias from supporting him. So I get it. I'll give that off. But I think it's amazing. And then I thought this was beautiful in and of itself when he was getting off, like he was making his own TikTok in like at least the parts of it right here. Take a look.
Hello, everybody. This is Donald Trump, and 250 million people are not garbage.
Amazing. Like it's all that's needed to be said. And then he goes out and he's in the garbage truck and everything. It says this killer line.
This truck is in honor of, how do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Perfect. It's in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden. It's perfect. It's perfect. The way he is running his campaign has been so tactful, and I can't say it's just him. It's obviously whoever's helping him run it too, has been so tactful in the choosing of how, when, and how to poke fun at the other side. Because, like I said, his power in this election has been wielded, correct me in the comments, like a butterfly knife. He is absolutely utilizing it like a butterfly knife. He is comedic timing. And so obviously many of you guys know Trump went on Joe Rogan not too long ago, or just like this last weekend. JD Vance actually just went on today. Maybe I'll do another show where I talk a little bit about the things that they talked about. But I want to see if I can find the clip. I didn't even have it pulled up. I just was thinking about it. Joe Rogan talked to Trump about his comedic timing. And I think that was a beautiful part of it. Let's show comedic timing, Trump. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch the whole 3 hours. Here is one of the parts that I think was perfect about it. I mean, you could talk about comedic timing in a lot of different ways for Trump. Trump has had a lot of instances in which he is just hilarious. He is just hilarious. I think this is, here's where it is. This is, in my opinion, a very important part of the entire interview. Here's this.
Their brilliance by highlighting your wild shit made you much more popular. Yeah. And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this bullshit, pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. Yeah. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you free ball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events and you're just talking and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like, and you're making fun of Elon one time. You're doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, you'd be in jail. Like, that's great timing. Yeah. But it's like that kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like, no one had done that. And I think,
it's funny. You need at least the attitude of a comedian when you're doing this business. This is a very dangerous business. First of all, it's a very tough business. When it's the most dangerous business. It's the most, well, for a job.
Yes. I mean, other than going to war and being a firefighter or being a cop. Yeah. It's the most dangerous business.
It's the most dangerous. For being president is the most dangerous.
Especially you. I mean, you haven't even got to the election. There's been 2 assassination attempts, and they've brushed those out of the news like it was nothing.
Yeah, they'd rather not talk about them.
Imagine if there was assassination attempts on Biden, how hard people would be attacking the right, how they would be trying to get guns taken away from people. They would try to ramp up gun laws. They would try to figure out some way to blame you.
Absolutely. And that gets besides the point a little bit. But again, Trump has a comedic timing and his campaign has been running as such. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, you could pull up a litany of examples. I mean, let's look at some of these right here.
Americans are not struggling. This is the worst platform. Who put this stage up here? This is the worst. The freaking place is falling down. I noticed it keeps tilting further left. Like too many other things.
See, he has comedic timing. He does, and that's how his campaign has been running. He's obviously been doing it in speeches for a long time. If you've gone to any rallies, if you've seen any of his speeches, he pretty consistently has jokes in there. He has fun with the crowd. That's why he speaks for like 2.5, 3 hours sometimes. And he's really, really funny, and he's funny about all of it. And now he's actually translated that into his campaign, into more stunts. And I think this is good. And I think the reason why I think these kinds of things are good and the way that he kind of plays with his criticism and everything is, one, it shows to people that he can have fun. It shows to people that he can have fun, that he is not like just this constantly angry guy. He definitely had a very angry demeanor about him, and everybody, he was being labeled as if this was his revenge. And now a lot of Trump supporters, people that follow politics closely, have been seeing this as a good thing. His Trump's revenge is like, oh man, he's going to come back against the deep state. He's got all these pending indictments and everything, which by the way, nobody's talking about anymore. Crazy. But you got all these people that were talking about these indictments, everything. It's his revenge. And now he comes out and he's able to have a good time. He has that comedic instinct. He goes on Joe Rogan. He partners with some influential talking heads, and yes, he has celebrity endorsements, but they also discuss policy, and he seems to be organized. And that is what I honestly think is going to come. This election is going to come down to is who seems to actually have a plan. Right now, Donald Trump is running a campaign. Donald Trump is running a campaign. When he and his supporters are called garbage, he becomes the garbage man. When his opponent lies about working at McDonald's, he actually does. Kamala Harris has been throwing everything everywhere and seeing what sticks. And not only that, in the process has come off as one of the least authentic people to ever run for president. And one thing, so Donald Trump for so long, he was able to ride off these rallies, right? You had all these different rallies that he would hold, and you get thousands and thousands of people, and it would show this bandwagon support and say, wow, if that many people are willing to go to a political rally similar to that as somebody who would go to a concert, then there must be something cool about them. Well, eventually the political rallies became tired in a way. Like people still enjoy to go to them, and his diehards are still going to go there, but people kind of, what you're getting out of a Donald Trump rally nowadays. There are only so many times that you're going to go see Dennis DeYoung play the same 4 Styx songs that you liked growing up. And I might be dating myself in my own music taste, but you know what you might know what I mean. There's only so many times you're going to go watch the Harlem Globetrotters. You get the show. You know the ending. There's only so many times you're going to go to a Donald Trump rally. You get the point. And so now he's doing these things that are really branching out and reaching a different type of audience. And a perfect example of that is also Joe Rogan. So obviously I played a portion of that Joe Rogan clip. I'm sure I could, give me one moment. I'll find one more. But there's a beauty to him going on Joe Rogan because you can see him on a stage all you want. You can see him going up. You can see him going up and doing 3 hours on a stage. And you feel like you kind of get to know him to some extent. You feel like there's a beauty to that he's talking with people and that you can kind of feel like you're getting to know him a little bit. But you still don't totally necessarily get to know him and get to know him as a human. But then when you get to Joe Rogan, you get 3 hours. You get 3 hours uninterrupted of him just having a conversation with the guy. People often talk about you want your president to be the kind of guy you'd get a beer with. Well, then you're able to see conversations like this, and maybe you get it a little bit more. Maybe you realize, man, this is the kind of guy I'd like to get a beer with. Here's this.
I shook his hand. I'm like, oh, I know he's about to do. So I fucking anchored myself. I'm like, not today, son.
Strength.
Not today. Would you give me a nice pull? And I'm like, but we're hanging out for a while.
Oh, that's him talking about that. My apologies. This is the first time he ever shook Trump's hand. We have this one where you kind of get to know a little bit more about him right here and about his decision making.
A concerted effort.
Well, they say it made 10-point difference, and I lost by one tenth of a point. They say it was 22,000 votes, but look, it was much more than that. And I appreciate JD Van saying that. And by the way, I think he was a great pick. Do you like JD as a pick?
I like him a lot. Yeah.
You're allowed to say that.
No, I do. I like him a lot.
I think he's good.
I think he's a brilliant guy. And I think his ability to talk like a normal human being. You did my friend Theo Vaughn's podcast,
right?
And he just did it.
How did he do?
He did great. And he just talks like a normal human being.
Is that why you called me to do this?
No. We were. I was.
He was a nice
once
guy.
They shot you, I was like, he's got to come in here. It's all about timing. It's all about the timing. I think timing's perfect. Do you even have a scar on your ear? You got anything on there?
I do.
What do we say? What do you got
so
there?
Right over here.
Oh, it's a tiny little mark.
It zicked right there.
Yeah. It healed up pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
pardon the language, but the thing, when you see that though, you really think to yourself, you're like, man, like this is a real guy. And it's really hard sometimes with the rallies, with the stardom, with I mean, he's been a celebrity pretty much all of his life. At least he's been wealthy all of his life. And so it's really hard to see him as a real person. And so there's a beauty to him going on Joe Rogan and sitting down for 3 hours uninterrupted, especially in an election where prior to Kamala, the issue was, man, is this guy even going to be alive in 3 hours for Joe Biden? And now with Kamala, you wonder if she even has the mental capacity to sit down with somebody for 3 hours. Well, apparently she doesn't. Out of the Daily Wire, Joe Rogan revealed he actually offered to bring Kamala on. He wanted Kamala to come on. Joe Rogan reveals Kamala's podcast demands, and Rogan wasn't going to agree to it. So Joe Rogan, the world's biggest podcast host, is the most listened to podcast for anybody out there. I would like to say it's Speechless with Kev Phares. And if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, we could make it that maybe eventually. But obviously that's not the way it is right now. But Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast host, revealed early Tuesday morning the numerous demands Kamala Harris's team made to appear on JRE. Rogan said that he offered both Harris and her opponent, former President Donald Trump, an invitation to appear on his show. Trump agreed and sat down for a lengthy 3-hour episode. Rogan and Harris's camp demanded the host travel to her. Actually, we can actually go see exactly. Maybe that's the tweet. Maybe it's not. Yes, we do have the tweet here. For the record, the Harris campaign has. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Also, for the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do this is in studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen. But it seems like she's putting on demands so much so that she can say, well, I offered to do it. I offered to do it. But she's making demands that he won't acquiesce to because they're kind of absurd. Like the majority of Joe Rogan, if you ever watch a Joe Rogan episode, it's long as crap. Like the shortest ones are like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Most running 2 to 3 hours minimum. Some going as long as like 4, 5. Especially when you get somebody like Jordan Peterson on, like he gets a yapper onto the show. Joe Rogan can go for a very, very long time. I don't think Kamala could. I don't think she could handle it. Instead, she chose to go on the Call Her Daddy podcast and talked about, and honestly, it was probably more fitting considering we know how Kamala actually got to where she was and know it was not hard work in the traditional sense. So Donald Trump goes on Joe Rogan. Donald Trump seems to be leading very well right now. But the Madison Square Garden, while being historic and beautiful and awesome, seems to have created a little bit of a snag. As Tony Hinchcliffe, a comedian, gets on stage and seemed to make a little bit of a stir. So what I want to do, because everybody's been sharing this clip around of him talking about Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans, is I actually want to watch the whole thing. So we're going to react to Tony Hinchcliffe and his comedy set, get the full understanding of what he was talking about, where this Puerto Rico joke came from. And so we'll react to this a little bit. And if you're like, oh man, Kev, I already saw this. Well, don't worry. We're going to add something to this because not only are we going to talk about this, we're going to talk about the idea of celebrities in politics in general. And maybe I'll challenge your understanding because oftentimes we talk about celebrities in politics and the right gets really, really mad and they'll say, come on, LeBron, shut up and dribble. Or Colin Kaepernick, you weren't even that good of a quarterback, which is true. Get off the ground. Stop kneeling. You're disrespectful. Beyonce, get off the stage. Eminem, shut up. But then we get guys like this, Tony Hinchcliffe, who's also a podcast-ish host. He hosts the Kill Tony podcast and comedy sets and everything like that. And so let's actually talk about what exactly he says. And is it hypocritical for us as people on the right to say celebrities shut up, but then also defend things like this? Let's see.
Madison Square Garden, how we feeling, huh? Wow, isn't this special? 17 years ago, I was sleeping in my car behind the Comedy Store in LA, And I'm proud to say this is my 4th time performing at Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena in the damn world. The American dream alive and well right here. This is very different than where I'm used to performing, though. I'm used to nighttime with people drinking, not so many babies in the crowd, and people that are obviously only here for Lee Greenwood tonight. Normally, I don't make my political beliefs a known thing. It's divisive for a comedian to do that, but just know I sleep well at night knowing who I'm voting for. Yeah. Yeah. When I lay down and my head hits my pillow, it is a fantastic pillow, by the way. I was staying at the Four Seasons up by Central Park one night, and I laid my head down, and it felt so good. And I thought to myself, what an amazing pillow. I have a little bit of money now. I could buy a good pillow. And I took the pillowcase off, and there it was. My pillow, my pillow, my pillow. And damn it, I bought 4 of them. And if you use the promo code KILLTONY, you can also buy 4 my pillows. There's serious stuff happening, people. I live in the great state of Texas now. 18 years in Ohio, 20 years in California, and I got to see California turn to absolute horrendous thing. And traveling the world, I got to see San Francisco turn into one of the most demented cities, one of the greatest downfalls I've ever seen.
So I've never actually watched this whole clip before, and so this is interesting to see what he's talking about right now, because it's the Puerto Rico part that seems to have a lot of people up in arms, because he says some things about Puerto Rico. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it for you. We'll get there soon. But he just talks about how California has become horrendous, and then he sees more.
And that is where the other candidate worked for 2 decades. And it's absolutely wild to see. And in Texas, stuff is really, really crazy. We're right there by a wide open border. Where are my proud Latinos at tonight? You guys see what I mean? It's wide open. There's so many of them. It's absolutely incredible.
And again, that's totally something that I see the left would call racist. But I mean, he at the same time, he says, "Where's my proud Latinos out?" Latinos out. He's being playful in it. And he's a comedian. He recognized at the very beginning, he's a comedian. He's going to tell jokes, and the crowd laughed so far, while also recognizing something that nobody is disputing in any of this. It's a crazy thing. Nobody's like, "Hey man, you really came after California in that." Nobody's mad about that.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor. Free speech is under attack, people. I host a show, and each week I get updates what words we're allowed to use and not use anymore. It's happening right now the past few years. It's a real thing. And, you know, used to be able to tell people to Google stuff. My mom's a boomer in the state of Ohio, and there's no convincing her of anything. She's eating the cats. She's eating the dogs. They're eating the pets up there. It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right.
So you can hear from the audience too in the background. He makes this joke. We'll play just a little bit of it one more time.
It really is.
Listen,
And,
I know there's a lot going on.
you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right.
Okay. And so I started off the entire show talking about the Joe Biden clip in which he literally calls half of the country garbage. Which is kind of hilarious because now that has taken over the news cycle and not many people are even talking about this clip anymore, which is what the liberals were like, oh my God, this is so awful. We're 4 minutes into this 12-minute speech. And he makes this joke. He's testing his limits. He's doing a stand-up routine. And so do I understand that there's criticism for this? Absolutely. Let me know what you guys think in the comments too. Comment. Do you guys think that this is egregious, that this is terrible, that he's an ardent racist and obviously supporting the Nazi party at Madison Square Garden? That's obviously what he's doing, right? It's quite clear. It's quite clear that's what Tony Hinchcliffe's doing. No. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Am I being too soft on the guy? I don't know. But the way I see it is he's a comedian and he's getting up there and he's talking about free speech. That's what he started with. He talks about there's things you can and can't say. I actually don't think he's been all that funny. I think he's got some funny jokes in there a little bit. I don't think he's been hilarious. I think that joke was funny. I think it was funny. And what I think is even funnier about it that nobody is talking about is the fact that he right before that, he was saying California has gone to a crapshoot. A lot of things in this country have gone into a crapshoot. He was talking about immigrants and how we have too many illegal immigrants. We have an open border, and that's hurting Texas. And he's saying very, very base level things that could be going further. If you wanted it, you could talk about much deeper policy within that. And he starts off California's crap. And he sees that it's been going downhill. Nobody is calling him terrible things for poo-pooing California. No. But he's an ardent racist for saying that Puerto Rico is a, quote, floating pile of garbage as a joke. After also talking about how he's discussing free speech. What an absolute abhorrent double standard from the media, in my opinion. If you are going to call out him for joking about Puerto Rico, then you also have to call him out for his very real criticism of California. Otherwise, you're the racist.
All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup. There's some people here. All right. Very good. I like it. I have other policies that I think it should be implemented as well. Like me personally, I think football should be all year round.
Yeah.
So many great athletes.
Also, real quick, too, I just remembered this. So he makes the Puerto Rico joke, and everybody's like, oh, my God, he's going to piss off all the Puerto Ricans. And then you got even Trump supporters that are like, oh, my God, we have to condemn him. Otherwise, we're evil racists, and we can't actually support free speech. We'll be for free speech until we get called racist. And you have all these mushy, wishy-washy people that are like, oh, my God, don't call me a racist. Oh, my God. No. If that's you, if you're out there and you're like, we need to apologize for this guy because he's obviously a terrible racist, go vote for Kamala. Go vote for Kamala. You don't understand the point. Because the point isn't what he said. The point is the fact that he should be allowed to say it. And the fact of the matter is Puerto Ricans are more motivated for Trump than ever. Take a look. This is in there's like literal Trump lines. There are Trump lines in Puerto Rico. A lot of people pro-Trump. 3-minute video. There's a man with a Puerto Rico flag. It says Trump on it. Like, calm down, everybody.
I don't know about you guys, but I think that Travis Kelce might be the next O.J. Simpson.
What?
Feels good in here. The other side's got a lot of crazy endorsements. Swift, Eminem, Leo DiCaprio, Beyonce. Every day the Democratic Party looks more and more like a P. Diddy party. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what you guys want.
So here's what I'm seeing too, is he's doing what a stand-up comedian does, is he feels out the crowd. He tests his limits. So he's the first one to come on. He's the first one. He's like the opener. And so he's out there trying to get the crowd warmed up. Like, they're going to talk about a lot of policy. He's supposed to be like the lighthearted, fun guy. And so he's not getting up there to be like, basically, he starts off saying, I'm a comedian. Take very little of what I say seriously. That's essentially what he's saying. He's feeling the crowd out. And you can see that from his reactions to the jokes that he's telling. He wrote some jokes. He's like, I know some are going to be edgier. The Puerto Rico one, a little bit edgier. And he's feeling the crowd out.
All right. Heck yeah. This cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that? A lampshade? Look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm just kidding. That's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome.
Another instance.
This is a groany little morning crowd, huh?
Again, like they're cautious. And this is where I think a valid criticism could come. Not the joke. I think the joke's funny. I think it's the setting. I think I get what they were trying to do. They're like, okay, we're going to bring this comedian on. He's going to warm up the crowd. It's going to be good. He's going to kind of make everybody laugh before we get into some of like the politics, right? He's the entertainment. I mean, technically all of it you could say is entertaining, but if you know what I mean, it's not, he's the entertainment prior to all of the ardent politics. I don't think that was necessary for this event, or you keep it to a musical act or something like that. I see a comment here, and I'm going to get to all the questions that I see here, and I'm going to make them flow through, but I see a comment here. Do you think they chose the wrong comedian? Maybe, or they just didn't need a comedian. I don't think it was an awful choice. I don't think I would have foresaw. I think I would have seen their thinking as, let's get a comedian. He's going to warm up the crowd, and I would have approved it, and it would have been fine. And I'm not going to tell the comedian what he can and can't say. That'd be antithetical to the entire purpose of having him there, because you would have him there to talk about free speech. And so I think that there is a beauty to this entire situation in the fact that you could make, like, you could discuss the entire policy of free speech and say, it's for speech that you don't like. If you thought it was funny, great. That's the purpose. If you didn't like it because you thought it was offensive, great. Perfect. Then I get the question, do you think that this lost votes? No. I don't think, if anybody is watching this and saying, I'm not voting for Trump because of this guy, then they don't really believe, then they should have voted for Kamala in the first place. Because as I'm discussing, the idea of free speech is so integral. There's a reason why it is the First Amendment. And this is a perfect opportunity to display how you're not going to like everything everybody has to say. And if somebody saying something you don't like is going to push you, like Trump says a lot of things I don't like, it's not going to keep me from voting for the guy. Tony Hinchcliffe. I think there's sometimes where he's on his show. I've watched Kill Tony. And it's not like, there are times where I'm like, I don't really think that was that funny, or I didn't even really like what he had to say. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop watching the podcast when I think it's worthy of watching. Let's keep watching this.
It's tough to follow this audition for the next Commissioner Gordon's over here. It is, though. It's crazy times we're living in. I mean, all these pointless wars. It is unbelievable what's happening right now. It is incredible. Ukraine versus Russia, Israel, it's like bad soccer games. Who even cares? What are we doing? Why is our money involved in these wars? When it comes to Israel and Palestine, we're all thinking the same thing. Settle your stuff already. Best out of 3. Rock, paper, scissors. You know the Palestinians are going to throw rock every time. But you also know the Jews have a hard time throwing that paper. You know what I'm saying? All right.
See, why is that not? Why is it the Puerto Rico? The Puerto Rico one is the one you're going to go after? Come on.
We're having fun now. We're cooking. Hillary Clinton said that this is a Nazi rally here today. Can you believe that? For the most anti-war president of my entire lifetime, and she calls him Hitler. Let me remind you, Hillary, it was your husband who shot innocent people, or as he called them, interns.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Hillary, I bet you did not see that one coming. By the way, if I commit suicide in 3 weeks, I didn't.
See, they're not talking about these jokes because these are the ones that you're allowed. They're funny. Like, they're funny. These are funny jokes, but they're the ones you're allowed to make. One of which, the one obviously against the Jews in the paper, because they hate Jews right now. You're allowed to make that one. The ones about the Clintons, you're just a conspiracy theorist. You're just a conspiracy theorist. That's how they can write it off. It's not really politically expedient to them. They will take issue with the jokes that they take issue with, not because they have genuine issue with them. Not because they actually think Tony Hinchcliffe is an ardent racist. No. They take issue with them because it's politically expedient.
I mean, it's just obvious to me who the right candidate is. There's a guy out here dodging bullets. It is unbelievable, right? He took it right in the ear. Unbelievable. I thought about this. I don't know if you have. Coolest place to get shot. Like, if you're gonna get shot anywhere on your body, that's where you want it. Right there. Technically, he got shot in the head, depending on if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Right? If you're a Democrat, his ear was grazed. If you're a Republican, he survived a headshot.
See, like, he's even making fun of his own side a little bit.
It is. It's the best place to get shot. It's the only part of the human body will drive a piercing through like a little girl's ear for no reason. Right? There's just it heals fast. Nobody cares. It's the best place to get shot. He went down, saw blood on his hands. I'd imagine he thought right then, I think I just won this shit. Stands up and says the most American words I've ever heard in my life. No. Before that, there was one more. Let me get my shoes. Fearless. Perhaps still with an active shooter. He's talking like a guy that just had the best one night stand of his life. Right? Like, where's my shoes at? I got to get the hell out of here. Let me get my shoes. And then the fight. What he did was so cool that Biden got COVID. Oh, yeah. Go back. Look at the timeline of everything again. 3 days after that. That means that Biden, he didn't get that from hanging out with sick people. He was in a sterile room in the White House watching blood running down Trump's face as he pumps his fist. Biden's like, oh, fuck. Oh, God, no. It's true. Trump survived an assassination attempt and Biden got COVID. We vote next week. God voted 3 months ago.
Oh my gosh.
Another great Austin, Texas resident, Elon Musk, will be speaking here later today. Unbelievable. Genius. You guys saw him shoot that rocket into outer space, the largest aircraft ever, fires it off into space, and then parallel parks it back to planet Earth. Meanwhile, Kamala supporters can't parallel park their Toyota Priuses properly. Sorry, I listen to Elon Musk. I follow his lead. The world's smartest, richest man has my attention. Except for when it comes to stock trading, then I listen to Nancy Pelosi. But censorship is amongst us, people. It's a very, very, very big deal. And I'm just here to say that you guys are for the right candidate. Tell your friends. Let's close it out. And let's make speech free again. Make America healthy again. Let's beat the team from California. The team from New York should beat the team from California, not only in this election, but in the World Series of Baseball, America's sport. I love you, New York. God bless New York. God bless America. Let's make it great again.
Okay, I'm not taking a position on the World Series, considering the fact that my team almost won the streak for the largest losing streak in MLB history. But I'm a White Sox fan, in case you didn't know. But the point is that he gets up there and he talks about free speech. He gets up there and talks about free speech. And then he even demonstrates why free speech is necessary. And then the Puerto Ricans are still very supportive of Trump. I don't think this is going to lose Trump any votes. Do I understand the argument from some people like, oh, maybe this shouldn't have been part of the rally and yada, yada, yada? Sure. I'd argue it should have been. I wouldn't change a second of it. Why? Because he went up there where his primary purpose was to talk about free speech, and he demonstrated free speech is for speech you don't like, because we wouldn't need a First Amendment for speech you do like. And then he reiterated, this is all about free speech. We need speech to be free. That was his primary. He didn't get up there and start lecturing you on the economy or telling you that you're a bad person for driving a gas car. He went up there as a comedian, talked about free speech, demonstrated instances in which we need free speech, and then got off stage. That's exactly what happened. And I love it. And then you have other celebrities that are coming out of the woodwork and making a lot of political statements right now. I mean, he even said some of them. It's starting to look like a Diddy party on the other side, one of which is Beyonce. Now, this one seemed like a grab for Kamala. It seemed like a grab that Beyonce came out and supported Kamala Harris, because there had been rumors that at some point during other rallies that Beyonce is going to come out and she's going to talk, and then she's going to sing and perform her song Freedom or whatever, and we're going to love it. Well, Beyonce was touted for this one. She came out. She talked. She did not perform, and she left. Man, seems almost like she didn't want to be there. Now, once again, we talk about the idea that Tony Hinchcliffe went to talk about free speech, did a stand-up routine that pissed people off. People said that he's a racist, he's terrible, want to cancel him. He made his point. He talked about a policy issue that he could represent. Let's see what Beyonce had to say.
We are so happy to be standing here on this stage as proud country Texas women, supporting and celebrating the one and only Vice President Kamala Harris. A woman who's been pushing for what this country really needs right now.
So far, all I'm getting is, oh, she was a woman. She's a woman. They're all women.
It's impossible not to feel the energy in this room.
Oh my God. The energy, joy, positivity,
the community, the humanity. We are at the precipice of an incredible shift, the brink of history.
And what would that shift be? What are we shifting towards?
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician.
We know you're not a politician, Beyonce, because you're doing a pretty bad job of it, because you haven't talked about a single piece of policy so far, just the vibes. Just the vibes. And can you feel the energy in this room and the women and the history? But she hasn't actually said like anything yet.
I'm here as a mother. A mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in.
Now, here's the thing I think is hilarious. She says, I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm here as a mother. No, actually, Beyonce, the only reason you are there is because you're a celebrity. You are a pandering tool.
A world where we have the freedom to control our bodies.
Okay, that is the first policy she has come. The funniest thing is she ties in being a mother to the issue of abortion. Controlling our bodies. We're not going to, maybe she will actually go out and say abortion, but a lot of times the left will avoid actually saying abortion because that's too harsh of a word, because then it invokes this idea of murdering babies, because that's what it is. So instead they'll say control our bodies. But I guarantee you she's not up there discussing the legalization of black tar heroin. Maybe that's what she's talking about. But she ties in being a mother with eradicating motherhood.
World where we're not divided. Our past, our present, our future merge to meet us here.
What the fuck does that mean? Pardon my French, but listen to like that last 5 seconds. The past, present, and future. What the fuck does that mean?
Present, our future, our past, our present, our future merge to meet us here.
What does that mean?
Imagine our daughters growing up seeing what's possible with no ceilings, no limitations. Imagine our grandmothers. Imagine what they feel right now. Those who have lived to see this historic day. Even those who are no longer physically with us. Imagine all of their sacrifice. The sacrifices made so we can witness the strength of a woman.
So it's all about being a woman. That's what we're hearing. It's about being a woman.
Reimagining what leadership is. For all the men and women in this room and watching around the country, we need you. Your voice has power and magnitude. Your vote is one of the most valuable tools, and we need you. Your freedom is your God-given right, your human right.
What does that mean? Your freedom is your God-given right, your human right. Now, we could talk about the biblical worldview and how free will goes into that, but I don't think that's what she's talking about. I don't think she really even knows what it means for a right to be God-given. Because the only right, and I say that term very, very loosely, or in her terms, the only right that she has actually talked about here is the right to abortion, which I can tell you would not be God-given under a biblical worldview. Along with that, it is not a right. One, decided by the Supreme Court. Two, tell me in the Constitution where it discusses anything about abortion being a right. It's nowhere in there. So she's been constantly, what she's been doing is she's been saying these buzzwords: freedom, God-given right, control your body. I'm going to do it at some point. I'll make a video of a Democrat speech that would be perfect. And it's literally just buzzwords and a lot of emotion behind the words. I can even do a little bit of it right here. Is you say a lot without saying anything. You say a lot of words, a lot of buzzwords without saying anything. And you just go, now is the moment, this point in time in which freedom is at stake. And to protect the freedom, we need to control what we do by enabling ourselves and controlling the situation by expanding power and putting those in places of power that should have the power and taking the power away from others who should not have the power. And so in this moment, this specific moment for which we all have a duty to our country and our God, we must ensure freedom, the freedom that is at stake. Be unburdened by what has been and tie past, present, and future to culminate in this very important moment. Never forget that. And never forget where you were at this moment, where we protected freedom. I didn't say shit right there. And it was still better than Beyonce's speech so far.
Everybody say Texas. Texas plays a pivotal role to change the course of our future. Texans and Houstonians from 3rd Ward, River Oaks, Sugarland, 5th Ward, A-Leaf.
Now she's just listing cities.
Southwest Side, North Side.
I think she just needs to eat up time. And so she's going to keep saying cities because that'll eat up the time. And so she won't actually have to say anything of any value.
All the way down to most cities. We all have a role to play to make this a reality. We're all part of something much bigger. We must vote. And we need you. It's time to sing a new song. A song that began 248 years ago. The old notes of downfall, discord, despair no longer resonate. Our generations of loved ones before us are whispering a prophecy, a quest, a calling, an anthem. Our moment right now, it's time for America to sing a new song.
Oh.
Our voices sing a chorus of unity. They sing a song of
Unity.
dignity and opportunity.
Unity.
Are y'all ready to add your voice to the new American song? Because I am. So let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a big, loud Texas welcome to the next President of the United States, Vice Kamala Harris.
So she never actually said anything in that entire thing. And then she talks about singing a new song, never sang any song. Imagine waiting, because I guarantee you all the people there, they probably waited in line for at least an hour. Imagine waiting in line for 1+ hour, several hours to see a Beyonce concert in which she gets up there and talks for 5 minutes. And then Kamala Harris comes out. I'd be pissed. And I'm not a Beyonce fan or anything. I'd wait in line to see an hour to see her perform, though. I would. So Beyonce gets up there and says nothing. Compare that to Tony Hinchcliffe, who gets up there and pisses a lot of people off, but actually makes a point. Says something of substance. Well, now let's talk about like Eminem. Eminem comes out in Detroit. So Beyonce was talking in Texas, and you could say, okay, the chances of Kamala winning Texas are very, very minimal. Like, she's probably not going to win Texas. But Michigan is kind of considered a swing state. It's one that's really considered a toss-up in most people's maps. It's like, oh my gosh, I really don't know who's going to win this. So Eminem, Detroit is also where the Republicans had their RNC. Maybe this actually could be something of importance. Maybe Eminem was like maybe also a lot of young men who Kamala is really struggling with. A lot of young men resonate with Eminem. I like Eminem as an artist. I'd wait in the line for hours to see Eminem. Maybe this actually could be good. I will give it to Eminem. He kept it short and sweet. Let's take a look and a listen.
And cut the crap. I shouldn't have to rhyme these words in the rhythm for you to know it's a rap. You said you was king, you lied through your teeth. For that, your feelings instead of Detroit.
What up, though?
What up, though?
So look,
I wrote down a few things I wanted to say. I love you too. Thank you. I'm here tonight for a couple of important reasons.
Okay. So I think this is really important because he starts off and he says, here are the reasons I'm here tonight. So these better be good. Like, are these going to be celebrity word salad that doesn't actually say anything, but people are just ogling over, oh my God, that's Beyonce, that's Marshall Mathers, that's Eminem. Like, or are they actually going to say anything?
Most of you know the city of Detroit and the whole state of Michigan mean a lot to me.
From
And
8
going
Mile.
into this election, the spotlight is on us more than ever, and I think it's important to use your voice. So I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote, please.
Okay. First thing, which is also one of the more substantive things of that Beyonce said, is get out and vote. Okay. Solid message to go to a political rally and say, get out and vote. I'll credit.
I also think that people shouldn't be afraid to express their opinions. And I don't think anyone wants an America where people are worried about retribution or what people will do if you make your opinion known.
I agree. Maybe we shouldn't be prosecuting a former president then. Maybe we shouldn't have given unjust sentences to people that broke into the Capitol on January 6th. Maybe we shouldn't maybe we shouldn't have sent FBI agents to people's houses that were just in DC on January 6th. I have a friend, David Paul Blumenshine, actually, who had the FBI sent to his house for being in DC on January 6th. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't fear retribution. I agree with you, Eminem. Great point. Great point.
I think Vice President Harris supports a future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and upheld.
Why? Why? Okay, you stated a claim. Now support it with evidence.
And here to tell you much more about that.
Oh.
President Barack Obama.
Okay. So basically what he's saying is he's like, I have a claim. I'm going to make this claim. I think that I like free speech and I like having free speech and I like voting. And so I think Kamala is going to do a really good job at that. I'm here to tell you more about that because I can't back up my own opinion. I'm going to introduce this other guy that you guys might like. And then he brings up Barack Obama. And then Barack Obama gets up there and he starts singing the first lyrics of Lose Yourself in the most cringy way possible. Don't worry, I won't put you through that. But Eminem gets up there and basically says nothing too. I mean, like he has a little bit more substance. I'll give him that, but he basically says nothing. So the difference is between, so I asked 30 minutes ago when I kind of started part of this segment. We got more. Don't worry. But I beg the question of, are we hypocrites for being on the right and saying we don't want to hear a celebrity's opinion on politics? We don't want to. But then also we're like, oh, Tony Hinchcliffe, great. And then we got the wrestler dude. I'm going to get like slaughtered for not remembering his name off. Hulk Hogan. We got Hulk Hogan that comes out and supports a lot of people, or Donald Trump. We got Elon Musk. We got Tucker Carlson, who is a celebrity in his own right. Yeah, he's a political celebrity, so it's a little bit different, but he's a celebrity. We have that actor from Zachary Lane. I think Zach Lane, I think was his name. He's from that Shazam movie. He's a Hollywood guy. You got Clint Eastwood. He's usually more Republican. You got people like this. Oh, like you're a hypocrite because you criticize Beyonce, you criticize Colin Kaepernick, but accept those people. It's a little bit different because Tony Hinchcliffe got up on stage and made this substantive point with, here's my opinion, and here's why I believe that, and why I believe Trump will be that person. He said it essentially throughout his entire speech. Donald Trump hasn't condemned the statement, hasn't condemned the speech, hasn't said I shouldn't have him there. And he also said things that were in some way offensive to some people. So you could construe them as offensive if you didn't take it as a joke, which is what he said he was there for. So he came up and he said exactly, he actually voiced an opinion that he had relevance on. I don't want to hear from Beyonce because she can't actually articulate what she believes. I don't think that she should be given credence to her opinion because she cannot articulate why she has it. The only reason she was given a microphone is because people will base their political opinions on what she said. But the issue I want to propose to you is not that celebrities get involved in politics, is that we have a populace that will take what a celebrity believes on an issue that they have no credibility on and adopt that opinion because they give too much credibility to a celebrity that they value in a particular field. Now, if Beyonce came to me and said, I have not me, obviously she wouldn't come to me. I'm small potatoes compared to her. But if Beyonce came to the rally and said, there are serious reforms we have to do regarding copyright law to protect young and aspiring artists, I'd be like, man, that's actually a really interesting point. And I'm sure she actually does have a lot of knowledge on that. Or I would actually say that she probably has more credibility on that issue than I would. Maybe. I'm a law student, so maybe. But probably she has more credibility on that. She's been in the industry longer. She's actually probably had to deal with copyright issues. She's probably had lawsuits, or at least lawyers that have dealt with lawsuits for her regarding copyright and trademark. So yeah, I trust her on that. But if she's going to come out and try to just tell me she doesn't really tell me anything. But when she comes out and tries to give me a political opinion of which her credibility on politics is less than mine, I have a degree in politics, political science, I'm not going to listen to it. But we allow our neighbors to listen to it. That's the problem. The problem isn't Beyonce having a political opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, and I don't want to see yours or hear it. Unless you have credibility on it. That was a bad analogy. Bad analogy, I'll admit. But I do want to hear people that actually have credibility on issues. She has no credibility to me. No more than another average person who watches the news from time to time. A person that I think it would be interesting to hear their opinion would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean that jokingly. But Arnold Schwarzenegger came out with this endorsement today. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the former governor of California, so I do give some level of credence to his political opinion, as he was a politician. He was also the politician of California. Let's take a look at what he actually said. I don't really do endorsements. I'm not shy about sharing my views, but I hate politics and don't trust most politicians. Starts off pretty agreeable. I also understand that people want to hear from me because I am not just a celebrity. I am a former Republican governor. Actually, I would want to not necessarily hear from you as a celebrity, but I would want to hear from a former Republican governor. Again, there is credibility to be had with being a former Republican governor. My time as governor taught me to love policy and ignore politics. I am proud of the work I did to help. Oh, there goes my camera. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm proud of the work I did to help clean up our air, create jobs, balance the budget, make the biggest infrastructure investment in the state history, take power from the politicians, and give back to the people when it comes to our redistricting process and our primaries in California. I'll admit I don't know as much about his tenure as a Republican governor of California. From what I have heard from third-party sources is that it's a mixed bag. Not as bad as Gavin Newsom, but not all that much better either. That's policy. It requires working with the other side, not insulting them to win your next election. And I know it isn't sexy to most people, but I love it when I can help make people's lives better with policies like I still do through my institute at USC, where we fight for clean air and stripping the power from the politicians who rig the system against people. A lot of this stuff is pretty agreeable so far, honestly. Like your average person would get behind it. Let me be honest with you. I really don't like either party right now. Even more agreeable. My Republicans have forgotten the beauty of the free market-driven deficits and rejected election results. Rejected election results, both parties have done that. But other than that, okay, let's look past that. Democrats aren't any better at dealing with deficits and worry about that their local policies hurting our cities with increased crime. Valid criticism. It is probably not a surprise that I hate politics now more than ever, which if you are a normal person who is addicted to this crap, you probably understand. I want to tune it out. But I can't because rejecting the results of an election is as un-American as it gets. I'd say that it's pretty common for both parties. As someone like me who talks to people all over the world and still knows America as the shining city on the hill, calling America as a trash can for the world is so unpatriotic, it makes me furious. Well, make me furious too, because that's what the Democrats do. I mean, they basically say America's a racist nation. It's terrible. It has to be stripped down. Got to rebuild from the bottom up, that all white people are racist and they make America terrible, blah, 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 blah. And I will always be an American before I'm a Republican. That's why this week I'm voting for Kamala Harris. What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? See, I agree with a lot of what he says, but I think it's also important to remember context, because you might have read a lot of this like I did and been like, oh yeah, like he sounds pretty reasonable. Then you get to the Kamala Harris and you're like, not so much. And then you go back to clips of him during COVID. You go back to clips from him during COVID and you hear he says things like this.
Only way we prevent it is to get vaccinated, to wear masks, and not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom.
And screw you, Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is how I know that your credibility has been tarnished. Now, here is the thing. And like, obviously credibility is something that each individual gives to a person. And I'm being a judge on credibility based on objective standards of merit. You could totally say, I like this person's music, and so I am going to follow them in everything they say and do. Some people do that with Taylor Swift. Some people are also brain dead. And I'd say there might be a correlation between the two. Might be. I haven't done the study. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a person that I would generally, based on the criteria that I give certain credence to opinions on, he's a person I would generally give credibility to on his opinion, in the fact that he's a former Republican governor. A former governor in general, I would trust to some level, some degree with political opinion. It depends on the politics. It depends on the circle, but likely they probably know a little bit more than me. Even if it's a Democrat, they probably know a little bit more about how the system works in their state than I do. It's highly likely. Now, well, I'd probably trust Arnold Schwarzenegger to give me opinions on certain California policy, on the issue of Gavin Newsom. I'd probably say I'd give a larger grain of salt to him than I would a lot of other people in and outside of politics. This is an instance in which, when he's talking about who he's voting for president, I'm not disagreeing with it simply, or I'm not, he doesn't lose credibility with me simply for going for Kamala Harris and seeming fairly jaded on the issues, when it's so plain to see that Democrats have denied election results as much, if not more, than Republicans. But he also is a person who has said, I'll repeat,
no, screw your freedom.
And so when you say something like that, I'm like, man, also, didn't we just have Beyonce talk about how important freedom was and how freedom's so great and freedom, freedom, freedom? Seems to be a mixed messaging in the Kamala camp. In the Kamala camp. There seems to be a little bit of a mixed messaging. So when we have all these celebrities and we seem to have the Diddy party lining up to support Kamala Harris, you have to ask yourself, what are you basing your vote on this time around? Are you thinking for yourself? Freedom is allowed as long as you want the same things as them. This is very similar to what I said about freedom of speech, I believe earlier in the show, where I talked about freedom of speech is always allowed. You're always allowed to do whatever you want. You're always, as long as it's under their belief system. Even when it comes to Joe Biden, or when it was more about unity, less about freedom of speech. When I was talking about the unity regarding Joe Biden calling everybody garbage, and then it's kind of hypocritical for them to also call for unity during Joe Biden's inaugural speech. He talked about wanting to be a unifying president, and then he calls half of Americans garbage. It's because they don't actually care about unity. They care about forcing people into submission. They want unity as long as we all agree on everything. That's what they want unity for. And so I caution you, when you're going to base your vote, don't base your vote on who I say I like or what I say. If there's an opinion you think that I have said that is logical, you could take that and adopt it. It's not necessarily plagiarism. But at the same time, don't take what I say. Don't take what Arnold Schwarzenegger says. Don't take what Tony Hinchcliffe says. Don't take what anybody else says. use your own deductive reasoning. Do not follow any single celebrity. And with that, I heard that Tucker Carlson's speech at the rally in New York at Madison Square Garden was very good. So we're going to watch it. We're going to react to it a little bit to end this out. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen it yet. But with all the crap that's coming out and that everybody's saying, I want to watch this. Also, stay tuned on my channel, and I'll remind you after we're done reacting to this Tucker Carlson thing, sometime this weekend, probably Saturday, maybe Sunday. I am going to kind of do a map prediction, talk about polls. We'll bring on maybe a guest or two, and we're going to include everybody in on the comments and everything. Talk about what we think we're actually going to expect out of election night. It'll be kind of fun, so that we can make sure that we can kind of check our work a little bit. Based on polls, predictions, everything like that. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a minute of that. Comment what you think, share it with your friends. Let's get to Tucker Carlson, Madison Square Garden, and his infinite wisdom.
Tucker Carlson.
Also, I love Dusty Springfield, Son of a Preacher Man. Phenomenal song.
Thank you. I saw the Grateful Dead in this arena in 1987. I was seated right there. How weird. It's such an honor to be here, and it's wild. Just another day following Bobby Kennedy Jr. at a Donald Trump rally in Madison Square Garden. I mean, what? That's totally normal. Liz Cheney's out there with Kamala Harris. And there's Bobby Kennedy calling to protect women's sports at a Trump rally.
See, I think there's a beauty to what he's doing, and I'm interested to see, because I think it's going to follow up, is he's almost playing he's almost breaking a fourth wall. Is he's recognizing the absurdity of the situation. And when I say absurdity, I don't necessarily mean it in a negative connotation. I mean, he's recognizing the idea of, oh my gosh, this is like surreal, which just makes him even come off as more relatable.
It's a realignment. It's unbelievable. And the fact that it's here is even sweeter. Imagine if and just pause for one moment. Imagine you're Donald Trump. You're from New York City. You become famous in New York City. You make your fortune in New York City. And all of a sudden, the leadership of New York City decides they're going to destroy you because they don't like your politics.
Yeah.
And so yeah, boo. Imagine if that were you, though. And they try and take everything that you have. They try and put you in prison. They try and put your children in prison. If that happened to you, how often do you think you'd be going back to New York City? How about never? And yet he's here. It's like getting thrown out of a bar. And you think to yourself, well, all my friends are in the bar. And you approach the door and there's the bouncer like, you're not allowed in here. But from behind the bouncer, you hear the cheers of your friend, come on in! And the bouncer hangs his head in shame. He's embarrassed that he's working for the man trying to keep the most popular person out of the bar. And that's Donald Trump back in the city that produced him with no embarrassment at all, in a room full of his friends. The stones that takes, the bravery that takes is incredible. Donald Trump's going to win. He's going to win. I know that that's true. Why is Donald Trump going to win? The people he's about to defeat have no idea. And they're panicked. They have no idea why people like Donald Trump. And their first theory was, well, Donald Trump is evil, so half the country's evil also. And that's one of the reasons they spent the last 4 years trying to destroy the country, because they're mad at its voters for liking Donald Trump. How much easier would it have been just to pause for 20 minutes and ask yourself honestly in some silent place, why do people like Donald Trump? And if they had been honest enough to ask themselves that question, they would have come up with the two main reasons, and here's what they are. The first reason that people like Donald Trump is because he likes them.
Yeah.
That's why. And it's real. Affection is something you can't fake. I don't care how many times Kamala Harris would tell me she loves me, I don't believe her. I saw her kiss her husband with a mask on. A mask on. That's her version of love. It's fake. It's not real. They spent 10 years telling you Trump is a hater. Do you feel that on him? No, you don't. Because it's not there. I've spent a lot of time with Trump. And there's not one moment I've ever been with him off camera where he's spending his time grousing about people he hates. Ever. He's talking about the people and the country he loves in his private time. Trust me. And people know in a country that has been taken over by a leadership class that actually despises them and their values and their history and their culture and their customs, really hates them to the point that it's trying to replace them, they know someone who actually has affection for them, and that's Donald Trump. And it's requited. It's requited. They know. When he goes to McDonald's and serves fries, like, he's not faking that at all. That's why that worked. Democratic media consultants like, how is that working? Because it's real. That's why. And the second reason that people love Trump, and I put myself in this category, it's why I'm here today, is because he's liberated us in the deepest and truest sense. And the liberation he has brought to us is the liberation from the obligation to tell lies.
Absolutely. And I'm sure he's going to talk about that a little bit more, but everything that he is saying is what I've been saying for basically ever since Kamala got in office, and even or got into not office, got in the presidential nomination, and why she is so unlikable. Because you'll hear, oh, if you don't like her, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're blah 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 blah. No. It's people don't like her because she is inauthentic, which makes someone unlikable. She is inauthentic. People don't believe her. Why? Because she lies, and not just that she lies, because you could make arguments that Trump lies too. We could talk about that. It's not about that. It's that she lies so shamelessly because she's trying to tell you what you want to hear. Not even you personally, but she's trying to tell people what they want to hear rather than anything that she actually believes or anything of any kind of principle. She will flip-flop because she's told it's what she's supposed to do.
Donald Trump has made it possible for the rest of us to tell the truth about the world around us. And that's the single most liberating thing you can do for people. If you want to enslave people, if you want to degrade them, force them to tell lies. And they have. They forced us to lie about everything at gunpoint, effectively. They put people in prison for refusing to lie. And not just the obvious lies that men can become women or Vladimir Putin blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. No, honestly, he did. January 6th was an insurrection. They were unarmed, but it was very insurrection-y. Not even the obvious ones, but the big lie. You know what the big lie is? The big lie is that they're impressive. That's what the big lie is. That the people in charge have somehow earned the right to rule over you, and they haven't. And you know that. These are the single most useless people in the United States. They have no skills whatsoever.
Yep.
They've got 3/4 of the money, and they didn't earn it. They set up a system precisely for the purpose of awarding themselves wealth and power when it's undeserved. You look at Liz Cheney and you ask yourself honestly, what skill could she possibly have that allowed her to send hundreds of thousands of people to their deaths? Did she earn that? I don't think she did. No fair system would make Liz Cheney powerful. No fair system would make Larry Fink rich. No fair system would elevate someone like Kamala Harris to a presidential nomination. She's never been accused of doing anything useful. She has precisely no achievements. She's a nominee without getting a single vote. She is a metaphor for the system they created to make themselves rich and powerful. And then they have the gall to lecture you, the people who can actually change a flat tire and repair a power grid, who have useful jobs, who pay your taxes and work 40 hours a week, lecture you that you are somehow immoral. And Donald Trump has empowered the rest of us through mostly just sticking around in the face of their hate and abuse and persecution. He has given the rest of us the right to call BS on the charade. No, you are not better than us. No, you are not smarter than us. No, you do not deserve what you have. You probably stole it. No, you're not going to bully me into silence anymore. And I can promise you at this point, 9 days out, when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and pretty much every high school senior and college shorty girl in the country has come out finally say, yeah, I am for Donald Trump, actually. When the entire country has realized there is nothing embarrassing about this. What's embarrassing is to take a perfectly great country and destroy it, as they have. I'm not ashamed. You should be. At that moment, it's going to be pretty tough for them 10 days from now to look in the eye to America with a straight face. It's going to be pretty hard to look at us and say, you know what? Kamala Harris, she got 85 million votes because she's just so impressive. As the first Samoan, Malaysian, low IQ, former California prosecutor ever to be elected president, it was just a groundswell of popular support. And anyone who thinks otherwise is just a freak or a criminal. At this stage of the game, after 9 years of listening to their lies and finding every single one of them totally false, no, it's not safe and effective, and no, she's not impressive. It's very hard for me to believe the rest of us are going to say, you know what, Joe Scarborough, you're right. You're right. She won fair and square because she's just so impressive. I don't think so. And to me, that is liberation. It's the freedom to say what's obviously true as a free man and not a slave. And I just want to say thank you, Donald Trump, for that.
Absolutely. There was not a single word or moment or breath in that entire speech that was wasted. There wasn't. A lot of people are calling this like a very like populist, and it is to some extent. It's populist. And it's like a very perfect example of populism. I think it's just a perfect example of, and it displays very, very well the dichotomy of the parties and the candidates that we have. We have a person that rose to power as like almost like the Frankenstein. Like Kamala is the Frankenstein's monster of politics. Like she was created by the machine. She was been propped up by the metaphorical electricity, which is the money and the power of others, to rise to this position, to which the only achievement that she has and the only reason why anybody is truly drawn to her is because of the grotesqueness of her, of any sense of legitimacy she might even have within the positions she's gained. And then you have that compared to Donald Trump, who by no means will I say is entirely self-made, but is a man who has serious achievement through not only his political office that he held, but also in his time in business. Does he have failures? Does he have faults? Absolutely. Absolutely. But he has a resume that has more than just his name on it. And his achievements can be backed up by, I got here by some level of work, some level of thought, some level of attention, more than I knew the right person to flirt with, the right person to sleep with. And I guess you could say that's a level of work, but not to where you should be this close to the presidency. A heartbeat away. Phenomenal speech by Tucker Carlson. I'm very, very impressed. And I thought it was great. I didn't get the chance to watch the whole Madison Square Garden thing, but obviously I've now watched the Tony Hinchcliffe speech and the Tucker Carlson speech. I thought they were phenomenal. If you missed even a minute of this, don't forget to, guys, you can always go back after it's posted. I might even cut this one up a little bit into tiny little pieces so you can watch it through clips, shorts, and everything else under the sun. Everybody, if you're not following me on YouTube and you're watching from someplace else, don't forget to check me out on YouTube, Speechless with Kev. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, and don't forget, get out and vote. Everybody, get out and vote. You might think it's a landslide. It'll only be a landslide if we all come together and vote. So God bless you. God bless America. Go out and vote. God bless Donald Trump. Tune in soon again for the next edition of Speechless. I'm Kev Phares, your host. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Until next time, you've been watching Speechless.